KayFabe Smark Podcast. Welcome to the KayFabe Smark Podcast with Eric Todd and Brian Rampa, your smart mark source for news and opinions on the world of professional wrestling.
Hey, this is the KayFabe Smark Podcast. This is episode 85 coming at you here on January 9th, 2022. This is the new year. We did not get a show in on Thursday as, just felt a little bit under the weather, and I just wasn't going to give an A show, so I postponed it for a couple days. We're here on a Sunday night. We're going to get at it, but before we get into all of the fun of wrestling, we got to check in with our buddy, Mr. Eric Todd, and see what he has going on in his world. Eric, what's up?
Oh, you know, same old, Brian. Detroit having a good week this week. Last night, I went to the Pistons Orlando Magic game, saw the Rookie of the Year candidate, Cade Cunningham, out there cutting a rug on the Orlando Magic there. The Pistons pulled out a win. And then today, the Detroit Lions, notoriously the worst team in NFL football, somehow, some way, beat the best team in the NFL right now, the Green Bay Packers. Now, granted, the Packers didn't matter if they won or lose. They were still number one seed in the playoffs, so they had their B squad in there. But the Lions ended up beating them. And so, yeah, good day in the D. For all of you who don't know, we're from the Metro Detroit area.
Yeah, I saw the Lions game. It came on. I was at a family Christmas lunch thing, post-Christmas, if you will, and they turned it on. It was like fourth quarter. They were up, then they were down, and then they were up and up and up and ran that sumbitch out. And it was a Lions, so we're sitting around going, hey, there's 2 minutes left. They could screw this way the hell up. But they didn't. They turned around and pulled it out. So that was good. But a little bit of sad news, non-wrestling related. Just before we went live, found out Bob Saget has passed away. No connection to wrestling, but we at least got to give a little shout out to Bob Saget. Full House, America's Funniest Home Videos. I mean, come on.
Oh, yeah. Bob Saget, one of the best tellers of the aristocrats joke.
Oh,
that,
God.
Gilbert
about
Gottfried's is known for. One of the filthiest, most, you can ad-lib that joke any way you want. Bob Saget was a master at it. So, yeah, to see him go from Full House, Danny Tanner, patting Michelle on the back, and kissing Stephanie goodnight to the telling aristocrats joke. Bob Saget was across the board a super funny guy.
Yeah, also he was the voice of Ted Mosby, his inner dialogue on How I Met Your Mother. That was Bob Saget. He went uncredited on that. But yes, that was Bob Saget on How I Met Your Mother as well. So he was a man. He was he spoke to me, right? Every TGI Friday on ABC. I mean, it was Full House, baby. That was my life.
Right. And on New Year's Eve, Betty White died, and you kind of just like, yeah, she was 99 years old. Shit happens. Bob Saget, only 65. I'm kind of curious to see what happened to old Bob Saget. Guy looked pretty young. He's still in great shape. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what did it.
Yeah. Well, enough of regular pedestrian news here. We're not here to talk about just any old news. We're here to talk about wrestling news. Eric, do you have any wrestling news for us?
I do got some wrestling news lined up, and if you want to slap that ticker, we can get right into it.
From around the world, in Eric's Dirt Sheets, this is the KayFabe Smark News. Let's see what's going down for 2022. What you got?
All right. So we previously reported that Big Swole was not necessarily released from AEW, but they decided not to renew her contract. Well, Big Swole also got a big mouth, and she got up on Twitter and she was talking about AEW's lack of diversity, their lack of structure within the company, and kind of implying that led to her leaving the company. Tony Khan's not playing that shit. He got on Twitter and posted, the top two AEW executives are Brown, me and Mega, Jade, Bowens, Caster, Dante, Nyla, Isaiah, and Mark Quinn all won on TV this month. The TBS title tournament has been very diverse. I let Swole's contract expire as I felt her wrestling wasn't good enough. And I applaud Tony Khan on that statement right there. Big Swole, known across for wrestling purists, known as one of the absolute worst wrestlers out there.
This is such a sensitive topic, but it's just, I feel bad for her. She doesn't have a job. It didn't go through the way she envisioned it. I just think you just if you're just not fitting in the puzzle, you're not fitting in the puzzle. I never looked at it as anything outside of that. But that's just me. I wasn't there. I don't know what was said behind the scenes. I'm just looking at it from the TV screen. That's all.
Right. People get released all the time. But some people did take issue with it, and notorious big mouth Leo Rush. We know all about Leo. He's always yapping off about something. He tweeted out, "I'm not cool with any of this shit, to be honest." And then followed up that tweet with, "If nobody says something, then I will, because this is fucked up, and now I'm pissed."
Sure. If there's issues of them not treating people of different races and different genders and different whatever differently because of who you are and where you came from and what color you happen to be and what gender you may be, that's fucked up. I'll give you that all day long. But if it just comes down to you fit the bill and you don't, that's business and that's life.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt it was laid out pretty well by Tony Khan there. You can't you can't scream lack of diversity when so many of the top stars over in AEW are diverse, for lack of a better term.
For sure. We have any good positive news going on, Eric? Anything good?
We do, Brian. So we've been reporting on and off. You kind of refer to as my Kardashian news, who's breaking up, who's making up, who's hooking up in the wrestling world today. And we talked about Sammy Guevara and his fiance calling it quits after God knows how long of being in a relationship. We talked about the speculation of him and Tay Conti. We talked about them blowing it off and acting like, oh, can you believe this, Tay? People are saying we're hooking up. Oh my goodness, that's news to me. Guess what, Brian?
New Year's Eve, my friend. They posted a little Instagram, didn't they?
That is correct. Sammy Guevara and Tay Conti have officially confirmed they are in a relationship. Yeah, it was a recent Twitter, Instagram, blah, blah, blah post from Sammy Guevara saying that had 2021 had been a great year for Sammy Guevara, and 2022 is going to be fun. And it was him and Tay Conti having a New Year's smooch.
I mean, God bless him. Nobody got hurt. He got out of his relationship before things got ugly and just said it was done. And they moved on. Everything seems amicable in the presence that we are being, in what we're being shown. So I say, God bless, Godspeed, go out and date who you want.
Right. I just thought it was funny that they put so much effort into deny. But whatever. These are still human beings. They still have a right to privacy. But it was just kind of goofy in my eyes.
Yes, deny it, and when clearly the fans are seeing it at autograph signing expos and everything, that their booths happen to be next to each other, and they're going to help you make TikToks. I mean, you guys are on social media constantly together. People are going to take a shot and think you might be together. So, anyways, at least that's some good news going on. We've got people falling in love in the wrestling world. Brings another couple together.
So WWE had a little event. They're no longer called pay-per-views, Brian, just so you know.
We have an answer?
Premium live events is what they're called now.
PLEs.
We need our PLEs. And I mean, it makes sense. Nobody's paying for these things anymore. You pay $4.99 to Peacock and you get the biggest shows that they offer.
Right. You get Yellowstone, for the love of Pete. And if you're not watching Yellowstone, your game's slipping, son.
Yeah, if you watch day one, but you're not watching Yellowstone, you got your priorities mixed up, pal. But WWE had their little premium live event called Day One. I didn't happen to watch it because the reason I was watching it was for Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. Roman Reigns ended up testing positive for COVID, which was kind of silly in my opinion because they had pulled Roman Reigns from the entire week of live events specifically so he wouldn't get COVID.
And
So
he got
you would
COVID.
think
Put him in a
that he
bubble.
would keep him. He would be in some sort of NBA type bubble where everybody's constantly monitored or whatever. But no, Seth managed to get COVID, managed to be
Not-
out of the day one pay-per-view
You
event.
mean Roman?
But oh yeah, what'd I say? Brock Lesnar?
You said Seth. Seth was out of the pay-per-view.
He should have been. But Roman Reigns out of the pay-per-view. They wanted to give people their $5 worth. So Brock Lesnar was involved anyway. They inserted him into the Fatal 4-Way for Big E's championship, made it a Fatal 5-Way. Brock Lesnar ended up walking away the new WWE champion by pinning Big E for the victory.
Not only did he take the dub and get the pin, he actually pinned the champion. So, you know, a lot of times they'll have you take the dub over somebody that's not the champion, right? He pins Bobby Lashley. Well, you never beat. Big E has that whole angle. Now, you never beat me for my championship, right? They can play that whole game, but he beat the champion. And if you did not watch the pay-per-view or the premium live event, the PLE, go back and watch that from last week. At least just that match. You don't have to bother yourself with the whole premium live event, as it was mediocre at best. But that match was pretty good. These 5 guys put in the work for, I think the match was only 10 minutes. But
really?
Yeah, it was only 10 minutes. There was no laying on the outside spots where it's like, oh, you 2 in, me out, you in, this guy out, lay down and pretend like you're hurt for 22 minutes. It was 10 to maybe 15 minutes of just this guy's going through tables, that guy's getting body slammed over here, this guy's getting speared over here, just 5 gorillas in there just murdering each other. It was pretty good. I say go back and just give that one its 10 to 15 minutes. But it wasn't very long at all. But they put the work in, and it was bing, bang, boom, it was over, and it was a big surprise, too. The crowd had a good reaction because nobody saw it coming. A lot of good crowd, like, oh, like the WrestleMania meme face guy from when
Taker got his streak.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So it was a big shock because everybody loved Big E. Now, Brock is the New Day killer. He has taken championships from Kofi Kingston when he was a WWE champion, and now he's taking the WWE championship from Big E. So, I mean, the next thing he's going to do is go beat up Woods and take away that and be the king of the ring.
That's what he needs to do. He needs to go steal Xavier Woods' crown and put his face in the mud and just make the trifecta. But Brock Lesnar pinning Big E to be the WWE champion now means he is a 9-time WWE world champion, and he is in his 6th reign. 9-time WWE world champion, 6 as WWE champion, and also 3 times as Universal champion. At one stage in the match, Bobby Lashley had Brock Lesnar in the Hurt Lock before Big E made the save, setting up some tension there for the dream match of Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. And then on Raw, the following Raw, Bobby Lashley defeated Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, and Big E in a Fatal 4-Way to earn the right to challenge Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship at the upcoming Royal Rumble premium live event. So at the Royal Rumble, we will get our dream match. I've been wanting to see this one for a long time. I know you have, and a lot of other people. They want to see Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar lock horns.
And keep a little WWE news here for a minute. On SmackDown, Roman Reigns is now cleared to wrestle again, and his championship at Royal Rumble is being challenged by Seth Rollins. So that's clean. Royal Rumble is really cleaning up to be a proper little pay-per-view or a PPPLE.
Yeah, this will be a PLE. I will be sitting down with my bowl of popcorn ready to watch.
So yeah, do you have and then did you see the other news that broke over the weekend about the Royal Rumble with Mickie James being a contestant in the Women's Royal Rumble and announced as the Impact World Champion, Ladies Champion or Knockout Champion or whatever they call it. That's pretty impressive.
Oh yeah, people all over the internet going bananas, forbidden door talk left and right because Mickie James is the Impact Women's Champion, and she is also officially announced to be in the WWE Women's Royal Rumble. Mickie, from what I've researched and found out, is a independent contractor. She is not signed to Impact, but still, by all means, this is a big step.
Yeah, and WWE acknowledging that she is the other quote competitor, if you will, world champion. They're women's champion. That's pretty big. It's pretty cool. It's different. This may be a reach out and go, we're sorry about the whole garbage bag thing. Our bad. And then we also didn't realize we fired half of our staff before a huge pay-per-view, and we just massive cuts, and we don't have 30 women to put into a battle royal.
Yeah, it may be WWE damage control, but still, the end result is a pretty good one.
Sure. What other news you got for us?
Do you remember a little fellow over on NXT named Jake Atlas? Clean cut. He could wrestle his ass off, but he wasn't necessarily it.
Okay.
You didn't see Jake Atlas and go, oh my gosh. Well, Jake Atlas is now all elite. So Tony Khan, with all the talent he can choose from, he makes a big announcement that Jake Atlas is all elite. So it'll be interesting to see because the guy can wrestle. The guy has definite fundamentals. He's trained well and everything. So he's been wrestling on dark. But we'll see what happens with Jake Atlas. Definitely some potential with him.
Yeah. Everybody's waiting to see where these big names are going to go. Your Braun Strowmans and your Bray Wyatts and whatever they're going to be called post WWE life. But where are they going? All this Ring of Honor talent floating around, and we get
the Briscoes,
and we get Jake Atlas.
But it will be interesting to see what he can do.
Sure.
Talented guy for sure. The big news of the week, Brian, not positive news by any means, negative news to the hilt. WWE making huge releases once again.
Yeah.
There's some poop names on the list, but the big names on the list are NXT trainers, if you will, executives, producers, whatever you want to call them. Road Dogg, William Regal, and Samoa Joe. And that made some waves because Road Dogg and William Regal are Triple H guys.
Yes. And what was the Armstrong on the list there? There was the referee, not Brian.
Scott Armstrong.
Scott Armstrong. I believe that's Road Dogg's brother or something there in the Armstrong family.
I think he was a Triple H guy too, yeah.
Yeah, anything Triple H touched is gone. What does family dinners, what is that like on Christmas? You have to go over to your in-laws' house and go to Vince McMahon. You got to see him there, and you're like, hey, cool. What do I do here?
Right. You've erased everything that Triple H has put into NXT. You're just going through with a giant eraser, one of them big rubber erasers that we had when we were kids, and just Triple H has been wiped from the NXT archives.
Done. Like, I did see Road Dogg take to Twitter, and somebody asked him a question if he would go work for AEW, and his comment was perfect and awesome. He said, the light bill ain't going to pay itself. I'll work where there's work. I'm not afraid to get out there and do stuff. And somebody else had mentioned, what about a reuniting of the New Age Outlaws? Do you see? And he goes, I would be more than happy to go work some matches with Billy. So, and don't quote me on this. That's a paraphrasing, but nonetheless, he said, yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, we might not necessarily see a black and gold graphic of AEW Road Dogg, Jesse James, or I'm sorry, what's his first name again?
Brian Armstrong?
Brian Armstrong. Brian Armstrong is all elite, but we will see him here and there. I guarantee it. He'll pop in and do some shit with Billy Gunn for sure.
Oh, yeah, even if he's just backstage producer style and then occasionally comes out for a good, oh, you didn't know? Like, hey, what the hell, man? Pop my nostalgia all day long.
Yeah, no doubt. Some other names on the list are Chris Guy, and in parentheses we see Ace Steel. He was a WWE Performance Center coach. He trained CM Punk and was an NXT producer. We have Dave Kapoor, also known as Ranjin Singh, former on-screen manager of Hall of Famer Great Khali.
No.
Kapoor was also the senior vice president of creative for the company. He worked on the WWE NXT brand more recently. Creative producer Ryan Katz, who worked on character development and vignettes. He took over classes following Dusty Rhodes' death. Scott Armstrong, we mentioned him. And then also the recent names on there, I mentioned Samoa Joe, released again. So I bet he feels like he's got egg on his face for going back to the company after he was released the first time.
Yeah.
And then Timothy Thatcher and Danny Burch. So they were working more kind of behind the scenes in the NXT now instead of on screen. But I think if you want to see him on TV, that's great. But I think Timothy Thatcher and Danny Burch would be great behind the scenes trainers and coaches over in AEW, just to get some, because these guys are masters of fundamentals.
Sure.
Just get the younger guys and get them a little more trained, a little more polished, so they're not bouncing off the ropes and grabbing the bottom rope and hitting the rope with the wrong feet in the wrong spot and tripping over themselves. Yeah, so I'd love to see Timothy Thatcher and Danny Burch in some sort of role over in AEW.
And what do you think about Scotty Too Hottie getting out of there just in time, huh? I mean, let's be honest, his head was on the chopping block too.
Oh yeah, he saw the writing on the wall and he got out before his name was on that list. I guarantee his name would have been on that list.
Oh yeah, there ain't a question about that. So he's out there, running roughshod through the little independent scene and having a blast out there. Do you have any more news for us? This is quite the news segment.
I do. We've been short on news the past couple episodes.
Yeah.
This one I found kind of funny. You remember the story we reported on with the fan with the offensive sign pertaining to Nyla Rose?
Yes.
Well, that fan has been banned from all AEW live events and even has his picture on the wall at the entrances. Do not let this guy in.
I was literally just going to say, what do they got, a picture at the front not letting this guy in? And they literally are going to do that. So, hey, I guess you're going to stick to your guns. Stick to your guns.
I find it absolutely obnoxious. The guy made one shitty sign. Take his sign away. Smack him on the ass. And whatever, man. Ban the guy from all live events.
This is the most long-term storytelling AEW's done in months.
Yeah, so that was just a little tidbit there. And then our final news story here, we talked about the Battle of the Belts or whatnot. Cody Rhodes was scheduled to be on this Battle of the Belts. He had a match against Sammy Guevara scheduled, a rematch, and Cody Rhodes ended up testing positive for COVID. So this match had to be restructured, and we ended up getting, this is the first time I can think of a interim champion. And this time for the TNT belt. And we had Sammy Guevara taking on Dustin Rhodes. From what I've heard, I didn't watch the match. It was pretty good back and forth match between Guevara and Dustin Rhodes. Dustin Rhodes in his early to mid 50s here, pretty much at the top of his game. And Guevara ended up pulling it out. And Sammy Guevara is your new interim TNT champion, and I'm sure he'll fight Cody again in the very near future.
COVID Cody, son of a bitch. Yeah, that was a weird, to me, this Night of Champions or this Battle for the Belts thing. What they call this, their special event on Saturday night?
Battle of the Belts.
Yeah. I thought was a weird thing. It just seemed like out of nowhere to me. No real build to it. It seemed very quick and fast. Like, hey, don't forget Saturday. It was a lot of like passing by, and you're going, you're having an event on Saturday? It took me. I didn't.
Right.
You figured for this thing that you're gonna do a battle of the belts and put the belts on the line and do this thing, and it just seemed kind of fell by the wayside. So unfortunately, I had to DJ an event last night, so I was not able to partake in watching that. But I'll go back and peep it out and see how it all went down and what it looked like in a, quick fast forward recapping situation.
Yeah, definitely. I was at the Pistons game last night, so I did not see this either, but I will pop in and see what else happened on there. I went over the results. Nothing too devastating happened, but
Yeah.
definitely worth a quick watch through.
Yep. All right. Any other news for us? Man.
No, that wraps it up for the news.
Woo!
So slap that ticker and let's get out of here.
Got your boy tired with all that news. Sammy Guevara's dating Tay Conte. Lots of people fired from WWE, the NXT brand. I mean, my God, that is the news. Let's see what's going on now. Well, if you can see by our visual here, our good friend Eric has the overrated, underrated logo up, and that can only mean one thing, my friends. That means it is time to play overrated, underrated. So let's hit that ticker and see what's going on here. Where'd my button go? There it is. Here it is.
Let's play Overrated or Underrated with Eric Todd.
All right, it's time to play overrated, underrated with Eric Todd. We're going to ask him a few questions here, and he's just going to give us his opinion if this segment, these things were overrated or underrated. I'm going with strange moments or strange people in the WWE for the most part. I think they're all WWE moments. It just happens to be. Let's start this out with overrated or underrated. The Boogeyman.
Oh, man. The Boogeyman, the story behind the Boogeyman is phenomenal. He was like 87 years old when he tried out for WWE, brought a fake ID saying he was 12. The guy, I don't know. There was an age limit on Tough Enough or wherever the hell he got a contract from. But the Boogeyman faked his age, ended up getting a contract anyway, got on TV, eating worms, freaking people out. In my opinion, it's a good story. How he got signed and everything was a good story, but in my opinion, Boogeyman was just a flash in the pan. Never really had a place there, and people who go bananas watching the Boogeyman toothlessly eating worms, they're in the wrong because the Boogeyman is overrated.
Boogeyman's overrated. The Boogeyman's overrated because he was a freak show. He was able.
Right.
If he wouldn't have ate worms, nobody would have gave two shits about him.
And by the end of it, or I think once everything was signed and he was like in the company for real and everything, they had to have a worm handler on set to make sure that no worms got hurt by the Boogeyman. And that story came from Bruce Pritchard. So whether it's real or bullshit, nobody knows.
I believe it. Overrated or underrated? This is a moment, not necessarily a person. It involves people. Brian Pillman. This is a strange moment. Brian Pillman and Stone Cold Steve Austin. The home invasion incident when Brian Pillman pulls a gun out when Stone Cold was breaking into his house on Monday Night Raw for a fight. Do you remember this back in like the late 90s there? What do you think? Overrated or underrated when Brian Pillman's pulling that gun out on Stone Cold Steve Austin?
Over is the word across the board for this thing. This thing was overdone, overwritten, overacted, overly controversial, and also overrated.
All right. He summed that right up, didn't he? Right to the point. Let's go with this one here. Overrated or underrated? Edge and Lita celebrate with their live sex party on Monday Night Raw when Edge wins the WWE Championship.
You and I were adolescent young men at this point, young boys, I would say, because I don't even think we reached our 18th birthday. But yeah, that segment, that was the epitome of WWE in that era. And looking back on it, hindsight is 2020. It was overrated, but in the moment, that was just insane to me, and I loved every minute of it, and I'm sure I recorded it on VHS and watched it over and over again. But we are men in our mid to late 30s now, and we're going to say that was overrated.
Overrated or underrated? Papa Shango stalks the Ultimate Warrior and makes him sick and puke up vomit, and he gets the black ooze that drips from his forehead. The Ultimate Warrior and Papa Shango angles in the early 90s there. What do you think about that? Overrated or underrated with the Papa Shango Ultimate Warrior?
All right, Brian, this also happened when we were young adolescent boys, and we are now in our mid to late 30s, and it still scares the shit out of
Oh,
me.
man.
Papa Shango. Anytime I watch that, I get queasy in the stomach. Papa Shango, Charles Wright, aka the Godfather, just a pimp in life. That guy, I love me some Charles Wright, and that moment in history was so untouched. Nobody had been in that territory, and it's still being relived in recent times with the Bray Wyatt, Alexa Bliss, blood coming out of her crown of thorns.
Randy Orton vomiting the
Oh,
black.
yeah, that's right. The Randy Orton whole thing, vomiting black ooze. Um, that moment in WWE history was way bigger than most people see it. So definitely Papa Shango, Ultimate Warrior, underrated.
All right, we got an underrated. We've been battling on that one here. Last one. And if we're talking strange moments, my man, how do we let go and not think of this one here? But overrated, underrated, Mae Young gives birth to a hand.
Probably one of the most tasteless moments in WWE history. Even in the WWE, in the Attitude Era, if you will,
Oh.
in the gross out era, that made no sense. It made no sense to anybody. It was just gross. There was no funny factor to me. I remember it like it was yesterday watching it live and just thinking in my head, what the frick? This is this is fudging ridiculous. And so yeah, that moment, just a mistake, a smudge in WWE history, and anyone who likes it is ridiculous themselves because it was definitely an overrated moment.
All right, well, that was overrated, underrated, strange, and weird moments and people in pro wrestling history. And now we're going to move on and talk about the last week's episode of AEW's Dynamite, my man. That was their first show on the Superstation TBS.
Yeah, it's a little strange watching getting to watch reruns of Everybody Loves Raymond and Mama's Family or whatever the hell they're running on the Superstation nowadays.
Seinfeld is
But,
on repeat.
Yeah, so it's a little strange making the move over to TBS, and from every commercial I saw during this thing, Rampage is staying on TNT.
Yeah, I think it was just the scheduling because they're on so late on at 10 o'clock on a Friday. They aren't going to have hockey games, aren't going to coincide with that too much, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I mean, obviously these guys, the executives, know more about TV broadcasting and everything, but for me, it seemed like having them on the same network would be the smarter move. But who knows? Do your thing. Rampage is still getting the TNT time slot on Friday nights. AEW Dynamite now on TBS, and they kicked it off strong, and they kicked it off with the Hangman Page Bryan Danielson match, leading the new first match on the AEW Dynamite on TBS.
Yeah, opened it up with essentially, I mean, let's be honest, call it whatever it is. They opened it up with a main event. I mean, that's your world title on the line. That's your main event. I don't care where you put it, it's your main event. They came for that, and overall, meh. The match happened, but let's break it down as we normally do here.
We will. And as you and I stated on match number 1 between these two, they kind of had to put it in the beginning because we're teasing the whole, this thing can go forever. This thing can go to a draw. And this time we have judges. But for the most part, this match ran very similar.
Easy for you to say.
5 times fast. Very similar to the first time these two wrestled. We got Adam Page rushing Danielson at the bell, Danielson bailing out, Danielson getting in, doing his jumping jacks. this thing's starting to look pretty familiar from the get-go.
Yeah, I was speaking about this as I was watching it to our good friend of the show, Mr. Andrew, and I was saying the same things as it was going down. Like, this is a loose copy of the original. So hopefully they change it up a little bit. It started out very quick and very fast in that same trail that they left off on. So it's hard to tell a new story all the time when they just fought. This isn't like we had months apart. This was just a few weeks. And here we are back at it again.
Right, and it's hard. It was very recently these two fought the first time, so it's hard to come out with everything being fresh and new. These two getting in a series of wrist locks at near the beginning of this match, and I believe I stated something similar the first time they wrestled. These two exchanging wrist locks is better TV than some of the matches AEW puts on that are full of flops and flips.
Yeah.
Um,
What? Go ahead. Lead me to the next
we
part here.
see Danielson bailing out of the ring. That's his motif this episode here. Chicken shit heel. Page doing his signature no look moonsault, and it was just great to see a little kayfabe in here. A little like this is what would actually happen. Page does his no look moonsault. Danielson just kind of steps out of the way and lets him miss.
Yeah, those are always good when that bit of reality breaks through and you go, well, I wouldn't just stand here like a silly goose. I would try to get out of the way of this. This is a 6-foot man flying through the air at me. And it was also sold very well that Hangman can just continue on flying through. For a big fella, he's just agile. And he just sticks that landing and goes about his business out there.
Yeah, and we see Page miss another dive shortly after that, and then finally hits jumps over the top rope or through the middle rope, however the hell he's doing it, because Page just loves to dive out of the ring. Finally hits a cross body on Bryan Danielson. So you're kind of teasing the people. They want to see dives from Adam Page. They want to see Bryan Danielson get hit. A couple misses, and then they finally give the people what they want to see.
Give the people what they want. I don't know when it comes, but man, it just pops in my head, and I got to get it out before I forget. They juiced the hell out of this match, and these guys were getting a bloody mess, but we'll talk about that here in a second. Sorry, I just had a thought.
Yeah, that comes up very shortly here. Danielson kind of breaking out of his character there, attempts a dive after tossing Adam Page to the outside. Adam Page blocks Danielson's dive, counters it with a backdrop right onto the floor. So it's kind of cool to see Bryan Danielson still taking tough bumps after the surgeries he's had, the rough career he's had, getting hurt here and there. Still taking pretty solid bumps on AEW TV here. We go to break, and we got Bryan Danielson on offense. We see a series of headbutts from Bryan Danielson here, and Page starts bleeding from the head, and he is bleeding like a stuck pig, Brian.
Yeah, you're definitely getting a lot of blood in this match here. It's definitely an interesting vibe, as you don't see that really at all anymore, unless it's, quote, the hard way on WWE TV. Like, there's no color. I think AEW is letting a little more color slide just to be different. Just hope that it doesn't get overdone, or it's, because now I just expect that it's going to be blood every match, right? Because everybody's got to dive, everybody's going to do a flip, and everybody's got to get color on TV, and it's like, no, that's not what needs to be done, but hopefully they can continue to do it tastefully and done correctly. As you stated earlier, you said Danielson's flying around like he's never had injuries. And if you're new to wrestling and you're flipping through the channels and there's a new wrestling and this isn't WWE, you may have been out of the loop, maybe never been in the loop, and you're seeing this guy wrestle, you would never guess that he had retired once from neck injuries, rehabbed them, fixed them, solved his issues, and comes back and is doing what he's doing. He doesn't look like the same. He doesn't look like that you would have that backstory.
Right. It's like he's never had one surgery. He's keeping up with all the athleticism that's on this TV show and doing it better, frankly. Danielson better trained, performs safer. The guy knows what he's doing, and he's not diving every 32 seconds.
Yeah.
We get some back and forth between Danielson and Page here, and now this results with Bryan Danielson bleeding from the head. We come back from break, and we're seeing a bunch of headbutts. These guys, headbutts was the name of the game in this match here, trading headbutts back and forth, and Danielson's face, reminiscent of Cactus Jack and those old Japanese tapes with Terry Funk.
Yes.
Just a crimson mask, nice thick blood covering Bryan Danielson's face.
Yeah, I sent Andrew, I've always known him as Andy, so deal with it there, Mr. Andrew Shad. Throw you out there on the internets. Asked if you thought, I was asking him if he thought he got busted open the hard way, just because there was so much blood and the way that it was. Like, did he get caught funny on the square ring post? Because I don't know if you heard, but AEW has square ring post, and their ring post have edges because they're square ring post. They have square ring post, as they will state 72 times throughout the night. So, but he was guessing that it was not done the hard way, that it was just something that he had, bladed himself, and maybe got a little too happy-handed with it, or maybe he just got a good gush of blood, but it was thick blood, man. That was pretty intense.
Yeah, he wasn't taking shots of whiskey in the back. We didn't get that watery piss blood
No.
that some of these guys get on their face.
Wasn't that drunk Stone Cold Steve Austin blood? Just Miller Lite pouring out of his head.
We're back on the outside of the ring. These guys getting to the outside a little more than they should have, in my opinion. But Adam Page is able to counter one of Bryan Danielson's moves and turns that into a dead eye on the floor. And Danielson's selling. He's a master at selling. And at this point, one of Adam Page's finishing moves, quote, one of his signature moves is the dead eye. It's kind of a reverse type pile driver type thing. Bryan Danielson is full on twitching on the floor, selling the hell out of this dead eye.
Yeah, for the size difference that Danielson gives up in most of his matches, he has to be a master at selling. Otherwise, nobody's going to give him what he needs, because he's coming into it already being an underdog and being looked upon as the little guy. So he's got to be able, if he doesn't get beat up, and if he gets beat up as the little guy and doesn't sell it, like, now he's not even getting the sympathy. So he comes into it, with everything against him, and if he doesn't sell it and get the sympathy, he's got nothing going for him. So he's great at grabbing sympathy, even as the heel. People are watching him going, oh my God, this guy just got the shit kicked out of him. Or they're happy to see it, that he's being a complete douchebag, and they're happy to see the guy get the shit kicked out of him, and he's selling that he got hurt. So he takes you from all angles, and he's a master of the psychology of that. He's great.
Yeah, Bryan Danielson, definitely a master. He can pull your emotions in every which way he wants, like a puppet master. He's great out there. We see Danielson still selling, having to be physically rolled into the ring by Adam Page. Adam Page misses a buckshot lariat. And then we get a small package from Bryan Danielson for a 2 count, and immediately turned into a label lock. Locked in pretty deep there on Adam Page. The crowd is going absolutely ape shit at this point, and especially as Adam Page powers out of the label lock.
I think that there's still a great split in the AEW crowd, that not really that they're not buying Danielson as a heel, but they're not accepting Danielson as a heel, and he will be their hero. Their anti-hero, if you will, however you want to word that and look at it. So you're going to get these weird pops and highs and lows, right? Because go back a few months when he debuted, the crowd exploded. I mean, They were
absolutely
all Danielson, and he's turned around a little bit, but he's playing such this sensitive, this weird heel, that he's not necessarily a heel. He's just better than you. And I know we're jocking on MJF style. You get into some weird, I'm better than you and I know it. You get the CM Punk best in the world, blah, blah, blah. But you get where I'm going with this here. He's got that very cocky, I'm just good and I can do this. And that's where it gets lost, that he's not necessarily that evil, dirty heel.
Right. That's 100% what it is. His heel persona is just I'm better than you, and it's I'm taking it easy. I'm doing jumping jacks. I have to keep my heart rate up. This isn't a challenge for me,
Sure.
and I just love how he plays it. Um, Adam Page tosses Bryan Danielson out and hits his no look moonsault, so he had to get his shit in.
Of course, got to get it in.
Danielson ducks another buckshot lariat and hits a running knee strike for the 2 count. And then a weird montage, so to speak, of roughly 100 headbutts being exchanged by these two. And that's where you fall into AEW territory where I get it. These guys are tough guys. They're seeing who's tougher, blah, blah, blah. They're both bleeding. But 100 headbutts, you somebody's going to end up with a concussion. Somebody's going to have brain damage. Somebody's going to lose their shit and end up in a retirement home after exchanging as many headbutts as these two supposedly did.
Yeah. Again, I think that's something that's being gone for that type of move because WWE's veered so far away from that stuff. Headshots with the chairs. You know, AEW and dickhead Sean Spears has got to hit everybody with a chair, right? His debut night, he laced open Cody Rhodes and split him open pretty good. And then pile drivers and now headbutts. These are all things. It's like, well, the WWE's not doing them. We're going to do them. And it's like, yeah, but they stopped doing them for a reason.
Right. Yeah. And not only are we going to do them, we're going to overdo them. And tons of chair shots, tons of pile drivers, tons of headbutts. It's been stated from Jim Cornette and other wrestling historians that if you got the right guy doing it, pile driver's one of the safest moves you can do. But we've seen over and over from the injuries that have happened in AEW and the sloppiness we've seen in AEW, a lot of the times the guys in the ring aren't the ones you want to trust giving you a sit-down pile driver.
Yeah, for some of the simple shit that we've seen. And we'll talk about at the end of this match, or at the end of this show.
Yeah. Speaking of pile drivers, we get a gobstopper pile driver from Bryan Danielson here, and that ends up in a 2 count. We get the face stomp spot from Danielson. Can't have a match without the face stomps. Page power bomb and Danielson. Danielson turns it into a triangle and a leg lock. And at this point, Excalibur is having some sort of brain issue, whether it's an aneurysm or a stroke. I don't know, but, and I quote, that's the same leg lock that John Silver used to injure Bryan Danielson. It was like he was a glitching computer. Page hits a suplex, and Excalibur absolutely, he just loses all motor function of his mouth. And once again, this was a suplex, a backdrop suplex, and Excalibur screams at the top of his lungs, "Oh, backdrop driver!" Please, somebody fire this guy. Please tweet Tony Khan that I fired Excalibur because I thought his commentary was trash.
The best was I didn't have I ain't gonna lie. You've hated Excalibur since the first time you saw him. We watched the debut, what was it, Double or Nothing pay-per-view at my house, live as it aired right there, and you go, who the fuck is this guy in the mask? And you hated him from there. And it's just hilarious because, like, I didn't have a problem with him, but, man, as we keep going on and on and on, it's just maybe I'm seeing it, but it is just like he just says things that don't need to be said. People tease Michael Cole for the vintage Randy Orton. He's going to go vintage and this and that. Whatever, it is what it is. The thing is WWE, at least, they're being fed their lines. AEW is he's just out there just screaming things, and it's like a backdrop driver. That's a suplex.
He is essentially a 13-year-old staying up too late with a case of Mountain Dew watching wrestling. Like I said, this was a routine, run-of-the-mill suplex, and at the top of his lungs, backdrop driver. It just drives me bananas. I can't stand this schmuck.
He wants his soundbite to take off. He wants it to go viral. He wants it to be something, and that's it. He just speaks in sound bites, and something they don't even have to make sense.
And the internet wrestling community adores Excalibur. They love him, and I've narrowed it down to because he's just like them. These current wrestling fans are just 32 years old, still living with mom, staying up too late on a work night, and they got to flip egg McMuffins in the morning, and they're screaming at the TV because their cowboy, who's a special ed teacher in Virginia in real life, did a suplex. Backdrop driver.
A backdrop driver. Why are we renaming the suplex? The suplex is day one shit. All right, where are we at with this goddamn match?
We are at the end. Brian Danielson finally hits the buckshot lariat. Danielson sells the shit out of it. Does a backflip.
Backflip driver.
He bumps a backflip, and Adam Page retains. Gets the 1, 2, 3 right in the middle of the ring on old Brian Danielson here.
Yeah, they went out clean. Nothing in the way. It is a weird way to build up to this. I thought this was going to lead us to a third match. Really what I thought was going to happen. I thought they made a big thing that there's no more ties. Okay. So they brought judges. And then they did nothing with the judges. They just showed them sitting there occasionally. They didn't come out to it. It should have went to the time limit again. As much as I bitched about it the last time, it should have went the time limit, or it should have been something should have happened, and they should have had to gone to the judges. However, you go to the time limit, or it gets called, or there's a weird double pin, or whatever they do. Right.
Right.
Now they go to the ref, or they go to the judges. Now they're tied. Even then the judges tie them. And it goes on, and there's a bunch of drama to lead you to a third match. But now it's over, right? They just blown it off. So
yeah, I personally think they should have went the Cobra Kai way here. There was 3 judges, I think. There's an odd number of judges, so supposedly you can't end in a tie.
Well,
but have one of those judges get paid off. Page gets the win via judge, but then you find out that, or hell, give Danielson the win.
Yeah.
And then there you go. You find out the heel paid off one of the judges. And then it's all, it's a whole rigmarole. And you get a third match out of these guys and make it a little bit down the road.
Yeah.
4 months at their pay-per-view or whatever.
That's what I was thinking, that we're going to get to the pay-per-view and have some type of Iron Man match. That is going to go back the other way. But it didn't. So I'm not sure where they go with this now. I know I'm not supposed to know where they go with this now. I'm just a fan watching wrestling. But where do they go with this? And I don't even see some viable options. The only thing that I see happening is that Hangman takes on the next guy.
And what does Danielson do now? His whole shtick over the past few weeks was how he wants the championship. So now what?
Maybe there's
is he fighting Sammy Guevara and Cody Rhodes for the TNT belt?
Yeah, because I don't know how he goes back to challenge for him again. Creatively, I don't see how you get him to have a match. He went the time limit. He got his match back. He didn't win. Why, in theory, would you get another match? If this was UFC, Dana White wouldn't issue another match.
No.
He'd be like, "Well, okay, there was an incident. You didn't get it didn't go either way. Then there was this. You lost. You're at the bottom of the list. Work your way back up." So is there going to be another eliminator tournament in a few weeks? Because, they love a good 9-week running tournament. 9-month running tournament.
Danielson goes from here because he's too good to be mixed in the middle of the card. there's no belt for him to go for. Are we going to create another trophy for some dead wrestler that WWE doesn't acknowledge anymore? The Dynamite Kid Classic. You get a golden wheelchair at the end. Who knows?
Yeah, I just don't see. I'm with you. I don't see where they go and what they do. So at least they're doing some long-term storytelling to make me tune in to see how they screw this up.
Yeah, definitely. My eyes will be peeled to see where Bryan Danielson goes from here. Hopefully, Danielson has his fingers in the mix for the creative, and I'm confident in Danielson that he'll be able to get his ideas in there, and Tony Khan will listen.
Sure. Or, yeah, there's just so many things that they could have done that they didn't do, and now I don't see where they go. But, nonetheless, let's move on and continue talking about this night of pro
We got
wrestling.
a pre-tape, Brian.
Oh, we love a pre-tape.
It's a pre-tape with the Acclaimed, and Max Caster lets us know that they've got a music video coming out next week.
Oh.
And I go ahead and chalk that up in the who the fuck cares category.
Right, chalk that up in the overrated.
Who cares? Who wants to see an Acclaimed music video? Are people really chomping at the bit and hashtagging Max Caster music video?
We're going to be sad when we look at the view count, and it's like going to be amazing.
It's going to be higher than Raw.
Yeah.
All right, we have got MJF in action here. MJF is going to be taking on the likes of Captain Sean Dean.
All right, now, if you didn't see what the fuck was going to go on, because MJF is fighting Sean Dean on Dynamite, on the Superstation TBS, like this is their big show to re-kick off or relaunch, if you will, and he's fighting Sean Dean. And if you didn't see what was going to happen, you're insane. You're insane, because I saw everything that was going to happen from the promos that CM Punk, rocking the shirt right now as we speak, got the new one on there, the CM Punk promos and MJF promos from last week, talking about going to be in each other's shit, and I'm going to be there, and I'm not facing you, and I'll be there, and I'll do this. And what happens before the match even kicks off?
All right, Brian, call me a not so smart mark. Or
you didn't
whatever.
see it?
I knew Punk was going to interfere. I did not see the end of this match happening and the result and how MJF was going to start his 2022.
Oh, so I actually didn't quite see that. I knew CM Punk was going to be involved and torture the MJF, like his
Right.
2022 run. But I thought it was very interesting the way that they did this, because he chases him out. MJF dips out. He's up on the ramp. He's standing there. And CM Punk's going, fight me, fight me, fight me. Mind you, the bell's already rung, so it's official. AEW's running a match, baby. They ain't stopping this for no nonsense. And there's no countouts in AEW. So MJF and CM Punk can jaw jack with each other for about 32 minutes on the outside of the ring. And CM Punk turns around, looks at his buddy there, Dickhead McGillicuddy.
Sean Dean.
Captain Sean Dean. And he gives him a nice boot and a GTS for his troubles. And bam, guess who gets the W? Captain Sean
Dean.
MJF gets a loss, one in the loss column.
MJF is now 0-1 in 2022. MJF DQ'd because of CM Punk's involvement. I knew Punk was going to be involved. I thought he was just going to be fucking with MJF.
Yeah.
Maybe cause him to get rolled up or small packaged by Sean Dean. I did not see him GTSing Sean Dean and handing that DQ to MJF. So, yeah, I bid on that. I liked it. The exchange of words between these two afterwards was phenomenal. These guys are masters at their craft.
Oh, yeah, don't get me wrong. When I say if I saw it coming, all I say, but I mean that by I loved every second of it. I just kind of saw the writing was on the wall that these two weren't done with each other as the story goes, right? And I saw them being involved in each other's shit, and I thought it was done great. And I think that there's some time there to build a story and build some interest in these two finally getting their hands on each other.
Yeah, so the meat and potatoes of this match was not the match itself. It's all funny. It's all grand that MJF starts out 0-1. But Punk says he will do this for every single one of MJ's matches. MJF shouting back that he himself, by being involved with CM Punk in any aspect, makes CM Punk relevant. MJF bringing Roddy Piper into this, saying that at least Roddy Piper was talented enough to main event a Mania. MJF threatens to main event a Mania, and then this is it right here. This is the clip that went viral.
Mic drop, baby.
Punk tells MJF the grass may be greener over there, but why don't you go ahead and get over to the other side? Main event night 4 of a buy one get one free extravaganza, because we know WWE is selling buy one get one free packages for WrestleMania. And yeah, then we see Punk says that MJF will main event night 4 of a buy one get one free extravaganza and get fired quicker than he lasts in bed.
There you go. That was it was a pretty good shot there at the old WWE and the main eventing, because what MJF stated, what did he say in there? He stated something along the lines of, you couldn't even main event the WrestleMania being the champion or something like that, and I'll go main event a Mania and blah blah blah. It was good. I liked it. These two, you want to see these two beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah, and MJF, he's not going to fight Punk. They're not going to let that come out right now. So MJF says Punk will get his match next week, and we're just wondering, what's the catch? What's the catch? And the catch is exactly as I would have called it. CM Punk will get his match next week, but it'll be against Wardlow, and I'm sure we'll get more tension between Wardlow and MJF in that whole exchange.
Oh, 100%, because they're falling apart as it is, and now you're going to build these two up to have something more go on. CM Punk is going to easily beat him. Sean Spears is going to interfere somehow. It's going to get messed up, and it's just going to keep going and turn Wardlow towards that super baby face that they're building him towards.
And yeah, that's a wrap on that segment, and we get more talking from Le Champion, Chris Jericho.
Do we?
I am so over Chris Jericho. He needs to just go be Fozzie Bear and do his rock and roll gimmick.
I think that you had me chuckling with the Fozzie Bear thing. Yeah, I think he needs a reboot. He needs to go away, as Bruce Pritchard likes to say, and learn a new move.
Yeah.
And come back fresh-faced again in a little bit. But he needs to let somebody else do the work at AEW for a minute.
I was going to throw a cornyism in there and say, how can we miss you if you never go away? But
yeah,
he went away, just not long enough. I don't miss Chris Jericho yet. And who is he involved with, Brian? These fucking idiots that were hanging out in NXT for a while, and somehow the internet wrestling community got huge boners over 2.0.
I don't get it.
The fans love 2.0, and what does Leech Jericho do? These guys are hot. I'm going to go ahead and attach myself to them, and maybe I can stay relevant. And that's not a gimmick. I think Chris Jericho knows nobody really gives a shit about him. He has his song that everyone sings, but he needs to leech on to the hot tag team or hot performer at the time and see if he can suck some of their fame off of them.
Yeah, and I think, and you know what? I think that's all subconscious. I think, honestly, it's him looking at it the other way, that he thinks he's bringing up 2.0. He thinks he's bringing up Orange Cassidy. And really, it's almost like he's taking a rub. He's taking the rub from them in reality, but he's trying to give them the old, hey, look at these guys, 2.0, pretty good stuff, right? Orange Cassidy, don't forget about that guy. It's like, why isn't he just... Jericho should just either be the main event guy or go away. It doesn't mean he has to be the champion all the time. It doesn't mean he has to be in every main event, but he should be rotating that cycle of main event guys.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. His ego is telling him that he's giving some of his star power
Yeah.
to these guys. But you see who he attaches himself to, and it's always up and comers that the fans already love. So, yeah, the long and short of it is Jericho's just trying to stay relevant. He did it to MJF, he did it to Darby Allin, and now he's doing it to 2.0. And we get we see Jericho, he's just not himself anymore. He needs to just go away. We get a whole bit about how the bigger guy from 2.0, I don't remember his name,
Yeah.
but apparently, according to Jericho, he has a square head. And we get a whole bad comedy bit of Chris Jericho calling him blockhead or squarehead. And the crowd is just eating it up. These fans are just so excited to be there and so hyped up to sing a Fozzy song that they're popping for a squarehead joke from Chris Jericho.
Yeah, then it transitioned to the other guy has a pinhead. And then it was squarehead, pinhead, squarehead, pinhead. That's the chant we had going.
Captivating.
Captivating.
Absolutely engaging stuff.
It was strange. It wasn't even that it was bad. It was just weird. I didn't know what we were getting at.
Not something that belongs on national TV to 1 million viewers. That could you imagine that comedy bit in WWE? Maybe nowadays.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Jericho just needs to be Jericho. He should just be like, I'm not talking to you. He should snub him and tell him to go get him coffee. Like, that would make more sense to me, but to be like, blockhead, pinhead. This is what we're doing here? I mean, my 8-year-old's not even going to find that funny.
The crowd ate it up. Jericho goes and gets Floyd, ends up getting jumped by 2.0. Kingston and Proud and Powerful make the save. And, yeah, that's what we got going on here.
Yeah, Jerry Garcia jumps him from the crowd. Bada boom. It's a 3-on-2, even with Floyd. Jericho can't save himself, and then Proud and Powerful hit the ring with their buddy Eddie, and 2.0 gets out of there and says, "Not tonight. We're not fighting you guys." And that's that. Whatever that was worth. Why does it always take their friends so long to save them?
You got me. We get a little graphic here letting us know that Jake Atlas is all elite. We talked about him, and we'll see what comes from that.
Yeah.
And then we get another pre-tape, Brian, this time from the Irrefutable Era. Adam Cole just wants the Young Bucks and the team of Red Dragon, that being Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly. He just wants the Bucks and them to get along. And then giving Jake Atlas the rub here. Adam Cole challenges Jake Atlas to a match on Rampage.
Yeah, this was different and weird. They had such a moment with the debut of Kyle O'Reilly, and you've got Bobby Fish, and they leave with Adam Cole, but the Bucks are like, what's happening? What side are you on? And they don't really address any of it. Just kind of say, we just want you to get along.
Nothing came out of this.
They're just here to hang out with me and just all get along. It's weird.
And I challenge you, Jake Atlas, because we were both on USA on Tuesday nights.
Makes sense. Why not? Hey, you're here. You got to fight somebody. Why not fight me? I don't know.
And then we have our weekly Wardlow squash match here. We've got Wardlow taking on the likes of Antonio Zanguano.
Yeah, Antonio Zanguano, and he is so feared in the wrestling community that Sean Spears has to jump him from behind and then roll him in the ring to help out his buddy Wardlow.
Yeah, Spears giving Zanguano here a Death Valley driver on the outside. And whatever this angle we're working between Sean Spears and Wardlow, it needs to end.
It doesn't.
You got to think, supposedly, in the kayfabe world, these guys have lives 7 days a week, and they're in factions, so you would think they would be in communication. The world of wrestling doesn't only exist on Friday nights and Wednesday nights. So this thing has been going on for months
Yeah.
with Sean Spears fucking around with Wardlow on his matches. You would think something would have came to a head by now between these two. Like, okay, fuck you, I don't want to be in your group anymore.
Yeah, or just hit him and just fight him, or talk about it. Like Wardlow he's never been like, I'm not doing. Why is he involved? Why does he never go to MJF and tell him to stay away? Why does he let him come out to the match with him? Right. And I know I'm talking and I'm making up that I know why he does, because it's what's being told to do and it's part of a story that's written. I understand this, what I'm watching people, but what I don't understand is why the story would be told this way. It doesn't make sense that they don't like each other, but he still goes out and quote manages him, wearing a suit with no shirt underneath it and a beanie. Like, he just looks like an asshole for one. And then Wardlow doesn't need any help, clearly. And they just need to get off of this building. The jobber squash matches need to end too. Okay, we've seen it. He's beat people up. He powerbombs them 76 times. It's reminiscence of early Goldberg and the building of Ryback. I get it. We don't care. We've seen the story 1,000 times. Let's go. Let's get it going. What are we waiting for?
No, Brian, Wardlow switched it up in this match. I don't know what you're talking about, implying that we're seeing the same old from Wardlow. This time, Brian, we didn't get 3. We didn't get 4. We got 5 power bombs from Wardlow this time. So he switched it up. He kept it fresh and new and gets the dub over Zanguano Zamboni here.
Zanguano Zamboni gets 5 power bombs for his trouble. Nobody cares. And Wardlow gets another W for whatever that's worth, with Sean Spears on the outside jumping him. The whole thing's just whack-a-doodle. I say they need to figure this out. They can't do long-term storytelling in AEW on the Young Bucks, Bobby Fish, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly. That ends the next week. But we've got 6 to 7 weeks now of Wardlow, power bombs, and Sean Spears interfering to build some type of storyline. Why do we long-term this and short-term the other shit? Like, my God, man, stay focused on what we're doing. Guys, make sure you stay tuned to all the social media platforms. That's TikTok. It's the KayFabe Smark on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Hit that like and subscribe. I forgot to say that when we started our little intro, but nonetheless, you know what to do. This is the KayFabe Smark. Get all your social media followings in. Eric, where the hell are we at in this thing?
Brian, we are finally at the head. We are finally at the end of this TBS championship tournament. This tournament for the brand new women's TBS belt. I believe the first match in this tournament was the middle of the card match between old Killer Kowalski and Vern Gagne back in 1952. This thing's
gone on for an eternity.
Has been going on forever, and it has finally came to a head. We are getting our finals match between Jade Cargill and Ruby Soho. The winner goes home with the shiny new TBS Women's Championship belt that happens to be in the color scheme of Jade Cargill, and we will get right into this.
That happens to be also, mind you, this tournament, this coveted tournament that people have been eliminated from and beaten up, and it's gone on for 6.5 months, is for a mid-card championship.
Yeah, the women's equivalent to the TNT championship belt, mind you.
And it has been turned, all the attention on it, and when is the last time the women's championship has been defended anywhere? It's been completely... they just kind of pushed that aside for so long. It's been a weird thing. They've really put too much emphasis on the tournament itself in this, but I've got my thoughts, and we'll continue on talking about this. So we've got Jade Cargill taking on Ruby Soho. We've got Jade Cargill's daughter in the front row. She's watching Mama. Boy, I mean, they couldn't just set this up anymore, could they?
No. And if you think Ruby Soho is walking away from this broadcast with that TBS championship around her waist, I've got a pile of snow in Alaska to sell you.
Stevie Wonderwall could see this one coming.
We got Ruby starting off hot. She's on offense at the start. She takes a rough bump out on the floor on the outside of the ring after doing this shotgun drop kick. Shotgun drop kick. Takes a flat back bump right onto the floor.
At least that hard bump and aggressive bump was on her own terms, because the rest of the shitty bumps she takes this match are in the hands of Jade Cargill and nearly murdering her the entire match.
Brian, this match was torture to watch. It was rough.
Probably torture to be in. Ask Ruby. She probably felt like shit afterwards. She goes, I thought this wrestling thing was predetermined and we took care of each other. You beat the shit out of me, you psychopath.
Brian, Jade Cargill moves like El Gigante. And I am not bullshitting. She kind of stomps around the ring and flexes and just get her a hairy bodysuit and we'll call her El Gigante.
El Gigante.
So this is just the clunkiest shit I've ever seen. And God bless Ruby Soho for trying to keep this thing together. And Cargill is just greener than frog shit. For some reason, Mercedes Martinez comes out because, she returned to AEW. And immediately,
I didn't know she
Thunder
left,
Rosa
and then she
comes
came
out.
back. There was a whole thing with that Mercedes Martinez.
But there was no point.
No.
She just comes out to get on TV, and Thunder Rosa comes out, and they fight. And then at this point, Jade Cargill is still moving around in the ring like Bambi on ice. It's Jade Cargill gets a near fall after a shoulder breaker and a pump kick. She's got her Kevin Nash set of moves going on there. That complicated shoulder breaker spot.
The hair flip.
Ruby. Oh, yeah. Cargill's got the hair flip in her arsenal. Ruby gets a near fall after hitting a no future. We get a struggle on the turnbuckle. And if you want to know how green Cargill is, go back and watch this match, Brian. And just while we're on the turnbuckle here, watch Jade Cargill punch Ruby Soho with the back of her wrists. Just, you can tell the experience of a professional wrestler by watching their punches. You watch a Bryan Danielson punch, you watch a CM Punk punch, you watch an MJF punch, you watch a Jade Cargill punch. It's the worst, awkwardest thing I've ever seen.
I'd rather get hit with a potato. I'd rather get hit with a live round potato socked to the jaw than somebody punching me with the inside of their wrist.
Please, just punch me for real so that I'm not embarrassed to be on TV with you. It was just absolutely horrendous. We see exactly how uncomfortable Cargill is on the ropes. I thought Ruby was dead at this point. I thought she was going to be in the medical facility because Cargill hits the sloppiest, jaded, I guess her finishing move is called.
Fuck, I couldn't tell you.
She hits this sloppy finisher off the middle rope after trembling and shaking, and she gets the pin. And there you go, Jade Cargill, your new TBS championship. Yeah. They should have painted the belt green to match her experience.
This thing, green, that was a good one. And I also love how you went with Elegante. I'm more of a Giant Gonzalez man myself, but you go...
Well, El Gigante had the pink tank top on with his leotard pants.
It makes more sense.
I think
Elegante
that would fit more in with Cargill.
This tournament took 6 months at least. They've been fucking around with this thing. They've been through the summer. It's bananas. It just ended in July or in January. I'm sorry. It probably started in July. This is nuts. It just ended. They didn't celebrate. They didn't let the poor woman celebrate. They go, and Jade Cargill's your new TBS championship. And to the back we go for a pre-tape.
Yeah, why not at least drop some balloons or something?
They couldn't have made it the main
color
event.
scheme? They should have. I mean, AEW is all about the women's wrestling and everything. Compared to the actual main event, the hype around this thing that AEW was pumping into it.
At least the time.
Right.
Like, my God, they should have put this thing, should have been easily pushed towards the main event status. It's insane that it wasn't. It's insane that it was on free TV. I get that they saved it for this changeover of TBS time, but they put so much work into this and just ended it. And we're just done.
Yep. Cargill's your new champion.
Gotta go. Here's somebody in the back.
Yeah, Tony Khan milking this nostalgia here. If you remember 25 years or so ago, JR doing a interview with Mick Foley and the whole like living room setup type thing in a very comforting area. Well, we have the same interview set up with JR and Serena Deeb. And the entire time Serena Deeb is talking, there's this ominous, scary music playing behind her. And the whole promo is just that Serena Deeb hates Sheeta.
Who gives a Sheeta?
I don't give one Deeb or a Sheeta about who hates who.
Yeah, man. Like, this is lame and wacky. Like, who cares? We're really putting the time into this. This is where we're putting the time in.
Mid-card girls who aren't in the running for the TBS belt or the regular belt. You got Riho up Britt Baker's ass right now.
Yeah, didn't win. You were out of the tournament to win the mid-card title. You haven't fought for the title. What are we doing? This is what we get. Like, who gives a shit? Red jacket, yellow jacket. Who gives a shit?
I guess if you're gonna in the mid-card game, if you're not gonna put any of these girls with Cargill, Serena Deeb with her experience and her knowledge, and Sheeta was over like Rover as the champion, even though a lot of that hype was fueled by AEW themselves. I guess these are your mid-card no title girls, but
sure,
the hype that they're putting into it, giving Serena Deeb a scary music JR living room interview, it's a whole lot to do about nothing.
A whole lot to do about nothing. And with that being said, I say we move on to the next segment.
I say we move on to Malachi Black taking on Brian Pillman Jr. Brian Pillman Jr. avenging the injuring and dismantling of his two crew members. That being, what is it? Griff Garrison and what's the girl's name?
Cheerleader.
Julia something.
Julia Hogan?
Julia Hart.
Hart.
There we go.
I knew it was like Hulk. It was either a Hogan or a Hart. There's a Hogan in there somewhere, too, that just popped around. Yeah, Julia Hart. This is weird. So why does Malachi Black spit black ooze at you?
I was thinking it's to recruit you into the Black family or whatever the hell
I
he's
was
got
with
going
you.
on.
That made sense for a moment. But now Julia Hart wears an eye patch.
Julia Hart is coming out like Pirate Pete, hanging out, but she's still hanging out with Brian Pillman. So she's not in the Black clan.
Right.
Who knows what's going on?
So, like, that's what I thought, that Griff Garrison and he was going to convert these people and make a thing. And I thought maybe this is what they do with the Varsity Blondes now, is they give them like an Acolytes type turn. Right?
Right.
And you take them and you bring them into the ministry, the House of Black, and you change them over, and now they're like his little minions that do his bidding. I saw something happen, and nope, we didn't do that. They just get stuff spit at you. That's how he challenges you. He doesn't know how to say, I want to fight you. He just spits at you like he's a velociraptor or one of those from Jurassic Park that spits the black ooze. I know it wasn't a velociraptor, but I can't remember the name of it. But, like,
yeah,
why?
Did he spit the ooze at Newman?
Yeah, he blinded Newman in the truck when he was trying to steal the Barbasol. Like, like, come on, man. Like, why does Malachi Black come out and spit at you? Why, if he wants to fight you, just say, hey, can we have a match? Why do you got to spit at me like an asshole if I'm not even going to be a part of your fucking crew? It was just stupid.
Yeah, Julia Pirate hanging out with so we don't know where Griff is. Griff Garrison. Maybe he is worshiping in the House of Black right now.
Maybe.
But we got Pillman Jr. and Julia Hart. This thing kind of gets a really slow start, and I kind of get what they're doing here. We're building tension between these two. We want to come into this thinking that Brian Pillman actually has a chance. We see Brian Pillman uh, being able to duck the famous Malachi head kick that takes out so many people. Pillman getting Black to the outside, and we see this weird missile drop kick between the middle two ropes. And it's actually kind of smooth coming from Pillman, who's only been in the business a couple years, being able to pull that off.
Yeah, Pillman's got a lot of potential. I 100% see that and still say that, and will stick with that saying. A lot of potential and can be. I don't know if he'll ever be the guy, but he could have a career in professional wrestling for a while from what he can do. I just think this gimmick sucks, and he needs to have something with a little more flavor in it. The riding the wave of the Brian Pillman dark side of the ring. I know it was your dad. Terrible that your dad's gone. Your dad should be there training you and being with you. I understand that, but something else has to happen here. Because just coming out and like you're an ex-football player, it's kind of old news. You have a Letterman's jacket. You're like in your 30s and you have a Letterman's jacket. Like, come on, guy.
I don't know if they're going for the Steiner brothers type thing or what they're going on with, but yeah, I don't know. This story is just kind of whatever. There's nothing behind the Varsity Blondes that really makes you want to cheer them on, except that they're positive baby faces.
Sure,
nothing else really going for them.
The young talent, the future of wrestling, and that's what okay, but make me want it to be the future. What's going on in this match, Eric? Here we got some nonsense flying around.
We do here. So we saw that cool little missile drop kick from Pillman between the ropes. We take that into break, and then we come back from break here, and Pillman is getting a comeback. And then, like I said, he pulled off that missile drop kick, which was surprising, seeing as how inexperienced he is. And then we just get a complete lesson, example number one of how inexperienced Pillman is here. He attempts to springboard into an air Pillman. I don't know if AEW is going to try and spin this into they did it on purpose and it was part of the show.
Oh, yeah.
But you just see Pillman's feet slip off the ropes and just tumbles and flatbacks right into the ring.
Yeah, he botched it. I don't care what they say. It is what it is. Shit happens. You botched it. It should probably be a pretty gimme move though, but it happened, and they moved, but it was cringy at best.
Yeah, he cringily does the flat back bump after letting his feet slip, and then they just kind of go right into the finish after this one. Pillman stands up, dusts himself off, catches a head kick from Malachi Black, and it's a wrap on that. Black gets the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I think it was a good spot to end it at. At least it ended at where he looked like an idiot. He missed his spot. He takes a bump. He falls. He stands up, catches a head kick, and they move on. If they would have tried to let him go back out and redo it, that would have sucked. That would have sucked way worse than just a botch and a finish. Because they were probably going to the finish after that spot anyways. But you missed it. Sorry, kid. Whomp. There's my heel. Good night. Take a nap. Let's 1, 2, 3. Let's move on.
Yeah, I imagine he was supposed to flip into the ring or do whatever he did and then get his head kicked off as he attempts it. But yeah, it was a little rough.
But, those are always bad.
Now where do we go from here? Malachi Black just completely dismantled every member of the Varsity Blondes. If he doesn't somehow recruit them, all this was just okay.
Yeah, they need to be recruited and go into this House of Black thing if they ever do that and do start something with that and actually explain more of what that's going to be. But, they give Malachi Black, they gave him this big intro. They gave him this big introduction. He beat Cody Rhodes. He did dismantled them. Now he's taken apart, and it made sense to take apart Cody Rhodes. He's Cody Rhodes. And then it made sense to tear apart his posse while he was out, right? Like, because he's trying to, beat up his homies while you're out. Okay, that makes sense. They get a rematch. But, like, why the Varsity Blondes? What are we doing here? Were you, like, always a Flying Brian fan? Did you love the Hollywood Blondes? Like, are you mad Stone Cold's not their manager? Like, what are we worried about here? And what's happening? And then you have a House of Black, and now he's just this mid-carder with a huge entrance, with a Malachi Black is this mid-carder with this huge entrance, big pomp and circumstance. He's got a faction that he's trying to start that he keeps speaking of that nobody's ever there for. Like, let's do something. Come on. Let's plug some people in. Have him take over the Dark Order and manipulate them over to the House of Black. Like, he should absorb them and turn that over. They're already weirdos, right? And he needs to start recruiting people and changing people. And I thought the spitting in the eyes was the perfect thing to do it, but it isn't, and it's not happening. And now I don't know what to think, so let's move on and talk about something else.
It keeps us engaged, Brian. We're going to tune in every week to see whose face he spits in next.
No, we're not, because they're going to
be joining Brody King.
They're going to forget. And they're not going to spit in anybody's face for 2 weeks. And then they're going to be like, remember 6 months ago? No, I don't. Like, just keep doing something. So that's where I'm at on that. Let's go.
We've got Tony Schiavone in the back with Ruby Soho consoling her after her loss to Jade Cargill. Britt Baker got to get her TV time in. She interrupts. Ruby gets mouthy, catches a beat down from the Baker squad, and then Riho comes in attacking Baker. That way we can hype up our Battle of the Belts title defense between Britt Baker and Riho.
Riho, the Baker's Dozen. That's what they should call it. Britt Baker and the Baker's Dozen. Yeah. Okay, we had a backstage segment. Tony Schiavone, Britt Baker, they beat up Ruby Soho. Okay, cool.
Brian, we are in a main event match right now because Penta is in his Joker gear once again. And we have our main event of the night. We've got the Lucha Bros taking on the Jurassic Express.
I literally said out loud to myself in my living room, Eric is going to hate the fact that he is in his Joker gimmick.
That's just his new thing. I think he only does it when he's main eventing, but he spent damn good money on that Joker gimmick, Brian, and he is going to wear it as much as he can.
I guess.
He's probably got poop streaks in it because you can't throw it in the washer.
Yeah, and this is your main event. You've got a tag team title match, and that's cool. They're putting the tag teams in a main event spot. I'm not mad about that either. When I say that Jade Cargill and Ruby should have had it, that's just because of where the tournament was at. But I think these main event matches with tag teams aren't bad. I think it's something that WWE doesn't do, and this is something that I agree that AEW could do and make their own. They don't need to make headbutts, pile drivers, and bleeding their own. They need to make tag team matches that people want to watch their own and put them in spots that they've never been before. Maybe even headline the pay-per-view or the personal viewing experience or whatever WWE is calling them. I don't remember. But like that's what they need to do, and I think they can do that, and they did. They started with this. It didn't quite go as planned and go as well as it possibly should have, but nonetheless, let's break it down.
Well, that's a tad bit understated as we'll get through on this. Didn't go quite as smooth as we had hoped. But I think to preface this thing, I think Tony Khan's stuck in a tough spot here. He's got his CM Punks. He's got his Bryan Danielsons. He's got his Adam Coles. He's got his guys who know how to wrestle and know how to put on a good match and who can show you that real actual wrestling at the FTRs with holds and rest holds, how they can build tension and get people emotionally involved. Tony Khan he has to see that good wrestling exists, and good wrestling is a lot better to watch than just crazy off the wall gymnastic spots. But Brian Rampa, you got to give the people what they came to see. And the internet wrestling community loves them some gymnastic, goofy, convoluted spots. And that's what we're here to see. We're here to see Ray Phoenix and Jungle Boy start this thing out by holding a test of strength, holding each other's hands and going through roughly 8 to 10 goofy spots, all while holding hands.
The way that you state it while holding hands, and then, like, I don't know, you totally changed the whole vibe of what they were doing. You're like, while holding hands. Yes, it was, I wasn't a fan of this match at any point. I just think that they could make tag team wrestling their own by main eventing it and making it a highlight and spectacle of their night. But not when they give this. It's just a dance. We're not watching something that's believable. Why the things would happen that are happening, I don't buy. I don't buy the backflips and the holding hands, as you stated, in their test of strength and flipping and flopping about to get out of this. I don't buy that 4 guys hold hands in the rings and 2 guys from the other side jump up on the middle rope, then the top rope, and do a flip and throw the other guys out. Why would you do that? So you worked with the guy of the opposing team so you could hurt a guy on your own team. Like, cool. Wait, what?
Right. And the way you stated that, it sounded like you were just giving an off the wall, over the top example of bad gymnastic wrestling. But no, that is exactly what happened.
100%.
This is an 8-man tag.
Yes.
I'm sorry, a 4-man tag here.
Oh, yeah.
We've got 2 teams of 2, all 4 members holding hands. So Ray Fenix and Jungle Boy can jump up on the top rope together, jump off, and send the other 2 out of the ring. Now, I don't like this. You don't like this. People who are fans of the Bryan Danielson, Adam Page matches, of the CM Punk matches, of the FTR matches, they don't like this. But you spend 10 minutes on the subreddit Squared Circle on Reddit, and this is what people live for nowadays. They insist head over heels that Jim Cornette needs to be beheaded and tarred and feathered, because this is what wrestling is now. So Tony Khan forced to give this to people, even though there's no believability to it whatsoever. I've always said the art of pro wrestling is, even though everyone in the audience knows it's fake, you can still sell it to them that it's real and get them emotionally involved. That's gone to the wayside with this type of match.
Oh, 100% is 100% gone to the wayside. We got our homie Sammy G from the UK checking in and says, big up from the UK. Sorry, I had to get that chat out there. Give him props from the UK. Hanging out, watching the KayFabe Smark podcast with us here on a Sunday night. Or, hell, he might be working at Monday morning. I'm not sure where they're at over there in the UK. But nonetheless, yeah, I'm with you, though. This is all laid out 100%. Like, this is what we're going to do. This is how it's going down. It doesn't, but there's no reverse engineering on why you're going to do that. How could we get to that spot? This sounds like a cool spot. If 4 guys hold the hands, we do the flips, we flop the guys out. How do we get there? And then the pure AEW answer that we spoke about several times is, well, you just do it. Yeah, but why? Right. But how?
Because wrestling's fake and everybody knows it's fake, so you just do it.
Because Tony Khan wrote it on paper. So we go do it. I know, but you have to end up in this reason that you're holding hands. 4:30 a.m. in the UK from Mr. Sammy G. Damn, my son. Either a late night or an early morning. Good morning, my friend. Go have some coffee and eggs on us. All right. But yeah, it just sucks that it goes down like that, and you're just forced to watch these types of matches that don't make sense for championships.
And it's what the people want. I don't understand it. You get the Walter from. We'll give Sammy G some props here. I'm sure he's a big fan of Walter if he's watching our show and he's in the UK. Walter has a new girlfriend over here in the United States, and he's going to be spending a lot of time in NXT. I'm sure the Squared Circle subreddit could give 2 shits about Walter, and he's probably one of the most talented guys in the industry at this point. And it's just, it doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. You could have a Walter versus Brian Danielson match, and the crowd would be like, "Oh yeah, that was pretty cool." But then you give them Jungle Boy and the Lucha Brothers, and they just lose their minds. Oh my god, I can't believe we're seeing. Look, they're holding hands. Everybody's included. Everybody loves each other. It's horseshit. I can't understand it. My brain can't compute, Brian.
Can't compute. I 100% agree, but let's break down this match a few steps more. Get to the end of this thing and see what's happening.
So we do see that they're experimenting here. Jurassic Express, the Lucha Bros, and they're trying to mix in both styles here. But the thing is, with the exception of Jungle Boy, because we've seen him work, we know he can work. The other three guys involved in this thing can't wrestle normal. It has to be all gymnastics because we see them trying to wrestle normal, and they're just displaying basic moves. So this thing, we're going through little back and forths throughout this match. It's either a couple minutes of basic hip tosses and Irish whips and clotheslines, or it's a complete mix of flippy dippy gymnastics and Cirque de Bullshit. The crowd goes absolutely ape shit. This is what the people came to see. When we see a Canadian destroyer from Jungle Boy, and then just a sloppy, I don't understand how you can botch a power slam, but Luchasaurus's power slam is just horrendous. And he does that around the same time Jungle Boy does a Canadian destroyer, and the crowd is losing their minds.
Yeah. Those Canadian destroyers, everybody loves a good old Canadian destroyer for some reason. The Canadian destroyer, the Panama Sunrise, whoever's doing it. I'm not even a fan. I'm an Adam Cole guy, and I don't like that Adam Cole does it. So I think the move is way overrated, and they need to stay away from it. That's where I'm at with that move, and
Right.
it's just oversold and overdone.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Canadian destroyer by any means. And you see it all over the internet of, you'll have a 130-pound guy Canadian destroying Congo Kong or something like that, somebody who's 500 pounds. But this, Brian, if you thought this match was going well, this is where it all falls apart. The lights go out for no reason whatsoever. The lights, no Malachi Black,
Nope.
no
Nobody in the ring, nobody on the outside of the ring, nobody disappeared from the match, nothing. Just the lights somebody leaned on the light switch.
lights go out, no surprise entrance, which just sucks the energy out of the room, because lights go out, you expect something to happen. Then we see a 130-pound Jungle Boy here taking a pile driver on the ring apron, and then a combination Fear Factor in the ring from the Lucha Bros kicks out at 2, because, little skinny kids can just get their heads slammed into the hardest part of the ring and take a finishing move and kick out at 2. Alex Abrahantes gets involved, grabbing a table.
I hate him.
You and I both, Brian. Luchasaurus choke slams Ray Fenix through the table. So from the ring apron to the floor, through a table, Fenix goes through the table, tries to catch himself for some reason with his left arm, and gets the most disgusting looking dislocation of his elbow that I have ever seen. Everyone initially thought it was a break. Turned out to be just a terrible dislocation of his elbow. But I watched that on repeat about 5 or 6 times. That was rough.
Not only did you watch it on repeat, but because AEW was so ready and wanting that table spot, they showed it on replays multiple times. And I knew it was coming. I had to watch the show late that night. Either it was late Wednesday or Thursday. I don't remember when I watched it, but nonetheless, it wasn't live when I watched it, so I knew it was coming. And my God, I still cringed every time I saw it. It was like, I know he's coming. Oh, my God, look at his arm. Oh, my God, look at his arm. It was wacky. And I can't blame Luchasaurus. I was ready for it to be a sloppy, like, Luchasaurus reason because I heard he was involved. And it wasn't Luchasaurus that was the problem in this. It was just the spot that they wanted to do. For no reason, you needed to go through tables.
Yeah, we had to go through a table, and we always talk about you fuck around with fire, you're going to get burnt.
Yeah.
And that's these whole guys' career, the Lucha Bros, is doing these dangerous over the top spots. And it was just I imagine it was just a instinct reaction from Fenix.
Sure.
But when you are being power slammed, Luchasaurus is a pretty tall guy. You're coming down 10 feet through a table. The last thing you want to try and do is catch yourself. Cross your arms across your chest, tuck your chin, take the bump.
And hope you go through the table.
That was 100% Ray Fenix's fault for sticking his arm out behind him.
Yeah, he just flopped out. His arm was all, that was bad from the word go. I am happy to know and hear that it's not broken and it's just a bad dislocation. He may just need a little bit of time off, if any, and everything will be just dandy. So happy to hear about that. I don't want anybody hurt and arms broken and falling apart. You're just too old to recover from anything like that. So we continue on and keep moving through this match, and we're pushing a little bit towards the end here already.
Yeah, I think we are at the end, Brian. So very shortly after this Ray Fenix botch spot where his elbow's gone, I think they figure out maybe we should wrap this thing up because every spot we do involves 38 people. Ray Fenix being out of commission, we really can't get any more of our shit in. We're going to see Jungle Boy reverse some sort of complicated Penta Cerro De Niro move.
Sure.
And just turn that into a roll-up for the win. And then it's a wrap. Tons of performers come out, tag teams alike, heels, baby faces, and they're cheering on your new AEW tag team champions, Jurassic Express. And you're getting slight little nods of challenges from tag teams from the ramp.
I was going to say, that's what I got from this was a lots of like, hey, we're here, we're next, we're next, we're next. They got so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so came out, they came out, and they're all looking for the next, we want the nod for the match. The one that I thought was the weirdest was Malachi Black.
No reason to be out there.
No.
Unless him and Jody King are going to fucking team up or whatever.
Him and Brody King have been tag team champions in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and things of that nature. Would be a great tag team. But why isn't he there? Like, he's been announced that he's been part of, that he's in the House of Black. He's been announced. We know he's going to be in AEW. We know he's going to do the damn thing. Just be there. I don't understand, and I don't think Ring of Honor is going to hold you too hard to any type of contract or that you can't appear. I don't know what is going on with all this nonsense. So that was a weird one, but went off the air with a lot of tag team looking at you, and we'll see where this goes. You got Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy as your new AEW tag team champions. There you go. I mean, exciting. We got some new champions. It was done in a wacky sort of way. The match was anything but traditional, and I think that's just the way it'll continue to go.
Yeah, that was a wrap on their debut episode. Big moments across the board. You get a new TBS Women's Champion crowned. You get new tag team champions. You get to see a terrible elbow dislocation. And then you got a hell of a match from Hangman Adam Page and Bryan Danielson. Yeah. So not a bad show from Tony Khan and AEW to debut on TBS after Seinfeld and Everybody Loves Raymond.
We'll poke holes in all of the AEW and just poke holes in professional wrestling, but, I sat back and I enjoyed myself for 2 hours. So that wraps up the show. That is the KayFabe Smark podcast. We are coming at you guys. Make sure you check us out on all the social media platforms. Once again, TikTok and Instagram. And then make sure while you're here, you guys have got several viewers in the live chat here. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that notification bell and hang out with us and watch us. When we go live and talk about pro wrestling, you can get in the chat and ask some questions. Speaking of that, before we sign off, Sammy G pops in here again, says he just finished his night shift And but a little bit off topic question: do you think Vince McMahon is selling to the WWE to Disney, as rumors are suggesting? Me personally, I don't know if Disney's the one, but yeah, I think he's on the sell. I think.
I'm with you on that. I think it's going to be Disney, or WWE has had a fantastic relationship with NBC for a very long time, dating back to the Saturday night's main events type things. So it's either Disney or NBC. I think within the next 2 years, I'm going to give it 2 years. Oh, Vinnie Mac's just going to pull the trigger and sell.
Yeah, I'm with that as well. I think something's got to happen because they're cutting so much. You think all these positions that they're cutting, whether it's backstage backstage producers, whether it's on-screen talent, whether it's et cetera and so on, it's just upping and beefing up their bottom line. And it's just showing them more and more profitable. They're going to be more and more profitable. And then, boom, that's when you can sell for a lot of profit. So, yes, Sammy G, my friend, my man over there in the UK, ending your 4:30 a.m. shift on starting your Monday already. Yeah, I think they're selling the WWE. That's my call. Eric, I think that's all we got. What do you got to say?
I think that wraps up. Hit us on all our social medias, as Brian said. Normally, we broadcast Thursday around 9:30 p.m. Eastern U.S. time for you over there, Sammy G and Walter. And so normally we're on Thursdays. We were on Sunday this week. It'll either be Thursday or Sunday. But other than that, it's a wrap for the KayFabe Smark, for Brian Rampa, for the snoozing pitbull Stella Marie over there, and for myself. I've got nothing else to say except hooty hoo. We're out the gate.